Minister, I want to ask about the new mental health policy, Share the Vision, launched in June 2019. Now, I know Minister Butler has been doing a lot of good work on this and launched the implementation plan last week. What is the status of the report on the specialist group on women's mental health under the Sharing the Vision plan?
Can I thank the Deputy for this really important question, and providing rapid access to high quality mental health services and the supports needed is an absolute priority for me, for Minister Butler, as the Deputy has said, for Government, and I would say for everybody in this House. Sharing the Vision was published in June 2020 and is our national mental health policy. We're now implementing the policy with a total €1.1 billion allocation in this budget. It's the largest mental health budget in the history of the state and has been put there to make sure that this is rolled out. But as the Deputy quite rightly says, the Sharing the Vision strategy, which is an excellent strategy, was not at the time gender proofed. And one of the things we're really prioritising at the moment is women's health, both in terms of physical health, and we launched the Women's Health Action Plan obviously about 2 or 3 weeks ago, also in terms of mental health. And one of the things that we're doing that has come out of the work is to gender proof the various strategies, one of them being mental health. As we all know, obviously mental health services are needed by men and women, by boys and girls, but there are some services which are exclusively used for women, for example, perinatal mental health, and there are services where we know that the majority of service users are women, young women or girls, areas like eating disorders and self-harm, for example. So, as part of the National Implementation and Monitoring Committee, which oversees the implementation of Sharing the Vision, various specialist groups have been established. The specialist group has a short-term remit, as we were saying, to gender-proof Sharing the Vision, with a focus on gender-proofing and implementation. It's just one of the ways we're embedding and prioritising women's health. The group which the Deputy refers to is chaired by Dr. Siobhan McHale. It includes a mixture of mental health and women's health specialists. It's supported by a diverse consultation panel involving a wide range of professional and civil society perspectives to inform the process.
Thank you, Minister. It is good to see the action aimed at increasing mental health supports, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, but issues we know have been there and have already been present there. But if you look at the statistics, work-related stress, depression or anxiety accounts for 44% of work-related sickness, and 54% of work days are lost because of it. 1 in 5 women experience mental health difficulties in pregnancy and after. So it is important to talk about women's mental health and prioritise action. All aspects of the mental health services are being improved, Minister, and developed through the implementation of this national mental health policy, Sharing the Vision. And I know, Minister, and the commitment has been given from Minister Mary Butler. It's short-term, but it's long-term. So it is an action plan that will be there for a long-term, and it's a long-term commitment, and that to me is so important. And the other thing I just want to ask you about is, when you spoke about the different working groups, has the reference group of service users and family members been established, and if not, what is the timescale?
Thank you very much, Deputy. The National Implementation and Monitoring Committee specialist group on women's mental health was established by my department in August of last year, and it was done at the request of the National Steering Committee. The purpose of this specialist group is to advise the National Steering Committee on implementation of the following recommendation. The Department of Health Women's Health Task Force and the National Implementation Monitoring Committee will undertake a joint project within 12 months to outline an effective approach to the mental health of women and girls. The project should ensure that mental health priorities and services are gender sensitive, and that women's mental health is specifically and sufficiently addressed during the implementation. So that essentially is the approach, Deputy, that's been taken. We have ongoing implementation of Sharing the Vision. We now have a very substantial piece of work looking at women's mental health within that, and I would imagine the national approach will be adjusted and updated and improved accordingly. And I'll get the Deputy a note in relation to her final question around the service users.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. And again, I just, as a woman, I think it is important to have a Minister for Mental Health, a woman, and I just think it's very important, and I welcome that. And I just want to ask you, what is the status of recruiting psychology teams across the HSE? Look, I know it's an issue that you and Minister Butler have been working on, and it comes across my desk all the time. And lastly, Minister, can you tell me also the best avenue to apply for grants associated with Women's Health Fund, which was announced in the 2022 budget? The amount of people that have contacted me about this funding, it's really important that we are putting this funding into women's mental health, but I'm just wondering, can you actually tell me? I'm finding it hard to get that information, and again, I just want to thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy. And Eli, I fully concur. I think Minister Mary Butler has been doing a fantastic job, and we really are putting women's health front and centre. And the strategy that we launched, or the plan that we launched about 3 weeks ago, every colleague should have it in their pigeonholes as of last night or today. And I'd really encourage colleagues to take a look. It's taking a whole life cycle approach to women's health for the very first time. And part of that, obviously, is mental health. So we're looking very specifically at mental health supports for girls, mental health supports for young women, mental health supports, for example, through the listening exercise. Perinatal mental health came out as one of the big unmet needs. And I'm delighted to be able to say that these new perinatal mental health teams are now being put in place, and it really is revolutionary. I was delighted. I was in Galway recently and I met it's a brand new team, and it has psychiatry, psychology, social work, therapeutics, an amazing team. Mainly are all women, actually, as it happens, but it is fantastic to see that this is now being built out and making a real difference to women's mental health.